Set in Hong Kong, the movie begins with a police raid on the hideout of an armed gang. The experienced detective Feng Shaiho leads the assault, advancing steadily despite the large number of enemies. And with Donnie Yen's skills, who would bravely jump from his gun to his shield and from his shield to his fists, Buck cleans the place one by one. He's in his own league. In the end, the police manage to catch all the gang members who didn't die in the assault. The leader of the gang is one of them, although in the subsequent trial he denies being a criminal. Instead, he claims to be a YouTuber who wanted to film in an abandoned place and the police mistook him for a criminal. Fox knows very well that he is lying. In fact, he had to save his partner Leon from him. However, it's his word against the accused, and the latter has a fierce lawyer who, in the absence of compelling evidence from the police, quickly wins over the audience. Disappointed with the justice system, Fogg gives up his badge to tackle the problem from within. Here the detective died and the prosecutor was born. 7 years later, we see a renewed Fogg joining the Department of Justice, ready for new challenges. Thanks to his detective experience, he sees cases differently and helps colleagues reach better verdicts. After this good first impression, Supervisor Bowen trusts him with his first case. This involves Ma, a young man caught with 1 kilogram of cocaine at home. The thing is, Ma didn't know it was in his possession. He just received a mysterious package from Brazil and hadn't even opened it when the police were already at his house. In his defense, the young man stated he had lent his address to a guy named Chan, who promised him money in return. It is worth noting that the police found drugs in Chan's home. It seems there is a clear culprit, although recently Ma has changed his story and swears he never lent his address to Chan. All because of his lawyer Lee and the owner of his law firm, who convince him that no matter what he says, he will be convicted of the crime. So instead of spending an eternity in court, it's best to plead guilty and negotiate a reduced sentence. With no other choice, Ma and his grandfather both accept the deal. Faulkner starts working on the case when Lee and AO appear to discuss Ma's plea deal, whose conditions stipulate that Chan will be completely absolved. That is the part that seems unfair to the protagonist, so he consults with Chief Prosecutor Young, who unfortunately supports Lee's argument. If the defendant confesses his guilt, why keep wasting time? Well, Fogg doesn't mind investing as much time as necessary to get to the truth of the matter. That is the true job of a prosecutor. The protagonist starts with the police officer who caught Ma Jin, who tells him that the accused comes from a family of drug addicts. His grandfather was the only one who cared about him, to the point that he took him from the arms of his abusive mother. The story is interrupted when the officer recognizes a trafficker on the street and immediately starts chasing him. Although he manages to catch him, he soon discovers that he has fallen into a well. They were the ones who fell. Unfortunately, more criminals appear armed with machetes and begin to corner him. It seems his luck has run out. I repeat, theirs. Side by side with Jing, Fogg confronts the criminals and manages to hold them off until reinforcement arrive. During his time in prison, Ma is harassed by the most violent inmates. If that wasn't enough, he also finds out that those who accepted a deal like him don't get out in a couple of years. At the very least, he's facing 10 years in this hell. His grandfather doesn't have 10 years to wait for him. In a desperate attempt, Ma's new lawyer, Sheng, requests to reverse the plea deal. To his surprise, the prosecutor accepts. And why wouldn't he, since the prosecutor is Fogg? Naturally, his decision earns him many complaints, especially from Bao and Young. In theory, the prosecutor's job is to convict the guilty, and Fogg is doing exactly the opposite by helping the defense. Even so, the protagonist continues with the case, reaching a trial where he stipulates that Ma did not know what he was signing. Indirectly, he accuses Lee and AO of having lied to him. They defend their position with complete calm, stating that they clarified the conditions to Ma from the beginning. From the audience, an old man shouts that this is false. To no one's surprise, Itspo F insists on his position, swearing that Lee and AO are lying under statement. The problem is Cheng lacks evidence, leading a frustrated Fogg to explain his job. During the trial, the judge is perplexed to see this, as it is unusual for a prosecutor to be helping the defense. The protagonist, instead of yielding, also lectures the judge on law compliance. He promises to request trials to find the truth. But this decision isn't his. After the jury's vote, a case resolution is presented. Jen is acquitted of the charges, while Ma is accused of drug trafficking and sentenced to 27 years in prison for showing no remorse. Bo turns pale upon hearing that, lamenting that he won't be able to see his grandson free before he dies. Faced with the old man's pain, Fox realizes the harm he has unintentionally caused. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. First, he tries to make amends for his mistake by visiting Ma in prison, even promising him that he will find a solution, but the young man is not so optimistic. After all, he is the one behind bars. After this, Fox tries his luck with Bo and suggests the idea of an appeal. Bo doesn't believe a word the prosecutor says and asks him to stop wasting his time, since he now has to make a living on his own. As soon as he starts his job washing cars, Bo almost becomes the victim of a hit and run, and I say almost because Fox saves him. Nevertheless, the killer does not give up. After the crash, Fox chases the killer on foot, though the latter jumps out of the parking lot and keeps running like nothing happened. Very real. If Fox gained anything good from this, it's Bo's trust, who invites him to his house as thanks. Then, the protagonist notices impressive drawings on the wall. Bo, proud, notes that Ma is a born artist and always wanted to use that talent to leave the neighborhood. As he says that, his smile fades. The neighborhood is much better than what his grandson is experiencing. Speaking of the case, Bo reveals to the prosecutor that they hired Lee based on the recommendation of Lau, the owner of the restaurant where Ma worked. With Officer Jing Fuck's help, he discovers Lau owns not just that restaurant, but a chain of bars and nightclubs in the city. At first glance, he looks like a businessman, although under the table he makes deals with the triads. Likewise, the legal matters of his properties are managed by the law firm of O, who, by the way, took charge of Lee's education in law. When he gets into legal trouble, she comes to his rescue. Drug trafficking, extortion, smuggling. AO has his nose in all of this. Just like Sang and Tong, a couple of drug traffickers who handle the dirty work. However, from time to time they force the refined O to get his hands dirty. During their investigation, Fox and company infiltrate a Lau's club, where Bao overhears a conversation between him and a young man who seems familiar to him, Chan, who refers to Lau as his half-brother. Meanwhile, Chan asks low-income people for their address to send them drugs. Lau offers them pro bono legal assistance through Lee and AO, who deceive them into taking the blame. Although Bao is caught by the guards, Fox quickly appears to the rescue, giving the thugs a taste of their own medicine. He's a one-man army. Using both his surroundings and his fists, the prosecutor shows them how good he was as a cop. Nothing can stop him. I got ahead of myself. Fortunately, upon waking up, he discovers that reinforcements arrived in time and took Lau and his henchmen prisoner. Casually, they all request lawyers from AO's firm. Immediately, Bao presents Young with evidence that Lau and Shan are brothers and together they are obstructing justice with AO's support. It wouldn't be the first time the Department of Justice has faced AO's firm, and on every occasion, Young has been the prosecutor. Young doesn't take this comment well, as he believes he's being accused of being part of the plot. Beyond this, Fox is sure that they have enough evidence for Bo to file an appeal. The prosecutor meets personally with the elder in a restaurant to give him the news. When Fox steps away for a few seconds to go to the bathroom, Bao leaves a tip under his plate. The prosecutor will find a little surprised. I didn't mean that. Upon learning of his grandfather's death, a heartbroken mob bursts in frustration, claiming he hasn't done anything to deserve this. Fox just listens to him, unable to console him because he knows he's telling the truth. Now, without an appeal, the prosecutor's hands are tied and the police are almost the same, as they fail to find evidence of Law's crimes. Just like when he was a detective, Fox wants to give up, but an unexpected reunion changes his mind. On the subway, he meets his old partner Lan, who excitedly introduces her child. In the raid years ago, she was already pregnant with him, and without Fall, she probably wouldn't be here. Motivated, the prosecutor resumes his work at the Department of Justice with the support of his new colleagues. After days of arduous investigation and trying their luck with the multiple victims of drug trafficking, the prosecutors finally find a girl willing to testify against Lau. In the midst of this, Jung warns Falk of the risks of the Department of Justice taking on the police role. Far from yielding, the protagonist sees it as an excuse to hide his alliance with AO, of which he has evidence. The argument quickly turns into a fight, although it doesn't take long to end. As Jung comes across the supposed evidence against him, they are blank papers. Fox was just testing his morals and he has passed. Knowing that Lau is exposed, he promises his partners that the aforementioned will plead guilty and take full responsibility. However, Tung prefers not to take any risks and therefore blows Lau's head off with Sang's approval. During the new trial, in which Young acts as prosecutor, F and Jin are responsible for getting Chan out of hiding and bringing him. Easier said than done. With Jin injured, Falk and Chen continue on their way by tram, but even there they are attacked by assassins. In that situation, the protagonist uses their weapons against them, while protecting Cha, the main target of the thugs. When it seemed there were no more enemies, the subway stops abruptly and the lights go out. It's Bao's killer, although he also has unfinished business with Thug. Because of the former detective, he and Zhang spent 10 years in prison. Time to... In the struggle, the prosecutor and the assassin go all out, and it seems the latter will be the only one to come out alive. In a desperate attempt, Chen lunges at the assassin, who quickly subdues him and threatens to kill him. In front of Falk, the prosecutor opposes, drawing strength from where there was none. Did Falk manage to neutralize the hitman with a tremendous combo of punches that ends with a "would you like an appeal?" Finally, Falk appears in court with Chan, who confesses in great detail the crimes that AO forced him to commit. This, combined with an incredible speech by Falk, results in a clear verdict: Ma is innocent. Soon after, AO, Sang, and Tan are arrested, burying their criminal syndicate. Ma, meanwhile, receives a scholarship to study in the city. His grandfather would be proud. Finally, Falk continues with his work, taking on the next case. And that's how this great movie ends. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and thanks for